Okay, welcome. Aloha. Thank you for being here, everyone. And aloha to my friend, my new friend. All right, everyone. I am Janin Johnston, and I am interviewing this wonderful special guest today. This week actually is Money Week, Money and Finance Week. And so all week we're going to talk about money and the importance of it and how to talk about it and deal with it. And that's why I have my special guest. Her name is Germaine Foley, and she is hailing all the way from Michigan.
Ooh.
Ooh, welcome, Germaine.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This is great. Okay, so before we get started, I want to read your bio before you share your wonderful story with us.
Sure.
Okay, so Germaine Foley is a certified financial education instructor. She thrives off of teaching women how to take control of their finances. Her passion is to work with women in the messy middle class. These are women who make good money, but often wonders where it all goes. Germaine identifies with this group of ladies the most because that's where she found herself several years ago. Her money story isn't pretty, but she wouldn't change it for the world. She and her husband paid off $200,000 in debt. And now she's on a mission to help other women become financially fit and money savvy. Holy cow. That's amazing. Thank you so
Yes, thank you.
much, Jermaine, for sharing that with us. Okay, so now what I want to hear from you is you had some juicy things in your bio. So I want you to tell us like how it all got started, and you can go as far back as you need to, even from when you were a kid, but
Mhm.
share with us like your journey and how you got to where you are now, and even the impact that you want to make with women,
Mhm.
and your why, like your deep why, because that's so important for us to know our why. So
Absolutely.
share with us. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for having me. I am excited to be here. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not a pretty story, but it's a story for sure. If I could go back, I would go back to childhood. My parents were like hardworking, blue collar workers, and we actually grew up, I would say, outside of Detroit. And it was like just outside of Detroit. So it was a suburb, and all the kids there, it seems like their parents had like white collar jobs and they could get whatever they wanted, and they didn't have to like wait for Christmas or wait for a birthday to, get the brand new whatever. And at that point, I had decided in my mind that I was going to go to college. I was going to get a really good job, and I was going to buy whatever the heck I wanted. And that was how I grew up. And that's what I did. I went to college, of course, took out student loan debt. When I graduated, I had about $60,000 in student loan debt. Then shortly after that, I met my husband, and he had $40,000. So combined, right from the get go, we had $100,000 in debt. And then, but that didn't stop us because back then, student loan debt wasn't looked at the way it's looked at now. Right now, people think there's a crisis, and everybody
Mhm.
understands that it's not necessarily good debt. But
Mhm.
back then, it was just normal, and it didn't matter how much you had. You could still get whatever car you wanted, whatever house you wanted, and be okay with, creditors were okay with that. So
That,
we went
that
on,
was the norm.
that was the norm. And it was just nothing out of, the ordinary. So then we bought the house and we bought the cars and we went on the vacations. We just did the things. And it just, one day we woke up and we had that big chunk of debt. And I started to really feel the weight of it because it started to get out of hand. And that's when I knew that something had to change. And honestly, my first solution was not a good one, and it was one that didn't help much. It hurt more than it helped. We actually filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which is for people who, they make good money, but they just, they're having trouble. So they'll kind of like restructure everything, but you still have to pay it off. So it was just, the only thing it really helped with was getting the creditors off of our backs. And I just knew right then and there that I couldn't wait 5 years for that to be over. I needed to just take control and just get myself out of it. And that's what I did.
But were you and your husband fighting about money at any time with all this debt and it was out of control?
Very much so. Yes, definitely. But my husband I'm the go-getter, and he's the quiet one. So he just didn't want to talk about it. I think he thought that if we didn't talk about it, it would go away. And I always wanted to talk about it. And so I became the one that was like the driving force. He supported 100%, of course. He sacrificed just like I did. But I was the one that just like took control and said, it's time to fix our money.
That's good. At least he was willing.
Oh, he was willing for sure. Yeah.
Okay, good. So share with us, like, what were some of the things that you started doing when after you filed for bankruptcy? How were you feeling? Like, did you feel relieved or did you have anxiety? And then what were some of the things that you started doing?
So I thought that it was gonna fix everything, but it didn't, because I was the problem. So it was nothing outside of me that was going to change anything, because I had to learn how to be content. I had to learn how to become a better money manager. I had to have paradigm shifts around the way I thought. And I like your question around what was your why, because once I figured out my why for getting out of debt, it was no stopping me. I have my why for getting out of debt was I wanted my children to start life with no debt. So I want them to go to college debt free. I want them to literally, I want to pay for all of that for them. And the only way that I would be able to do that is if I took care of my mess and then start working to build something special for them.
That's good. How old were they at the time?
They were probably like 3 and 5 when we filed. So this was a while ago. And right now I have one that's almost 13 and the other one is 15.
Yeah. So you have still a little bit of time.
Well, yeah. And we've been working on it. So we've been, this is our story, the $200,000. We paid that off maybe about 8 years ago. So we've had time to really, make things happen.
So that's interesting that you were able to pay off that amount of money in such a short period of time. Like, what were some of the things that you did to pay off that much in such a short period of time?
So we, any money we had saved, we threw at our debt. I don't know if I recommend that now, but that's what we did. Any extras, any bonuses, any tax returns, it just all went toward the debt. And we had a decent income, which helped, and we sacrificed. We did give up a lot of things, but we didn't give up everything. We still went on vacations every now and then, and we still enjoyed life. We went on our date nights, but we wrung it in. Like, we couldn't do what we did before, and we lived on a budget. So everything was planned, everything was decided upon, and we were just diligent to just make it happen. We weren't playing around.
That's awesome. Okay, you just mentioned the B word.
Yes.
That scares people.
Oh my gosh.
Tell us about that, because a lot of people, when they hear that word budget, all they can imagine, and this is, I know because I've talked to dozens of women over the years, when they hear that word, they feel like it's so restricting and life is going to be terrible and they're not going to be able to do anything fun. So talk to us about budget for a minute.
Oh my gosh. I love to talk about budgeting, because I look at it totally different than what you said. I think that budget is liberating, because it tells me what I can spend. Instead of telling me what I can't, it tells me what I can spend. And I am the one who decides what goes in the budget. So if I want to go on vacation, guess what gets to go on my budget? It may not happen next month, but if I know I want to go on vacation this time next year, every month I'm putting away money so that in my budget so that I can save up for that vacation and go on that vacation. So I don't believe in depriving yourself. I believe in putting things that are important to you in your budget, but you have to decide what's important because everything can't be important.
Right.
Like you can't say, well, everything is. No, you really need to decide, what are the things that are most important to you, and you need to find a way to make that happen in your budget.
Yeah, I love the way you phrase that, it is liberating.
It is liberating. And if you use it, like if you think of a diet, think of a very strict diet. You may be able to last for a couple of days, maybe a week, a month at the most. But guess what happens? You end up going back and you gain the weight again. So if your budget is too restrictive, the same thing will happen. You may do fine for a couple of days or a week or a month, but then you'll just go back to where you were. So we want to create long-term lifestyle changes and not just, fads where you just do things that are too restrictive and you can't keep up.
Yeah, just like sugar. I'm trying to stay off of sugar.
Yes.
The sugar diet. The more I think about it, the more I want to eat sugar.
I know, right? Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you work with women, what are some of the things, share with us some of the things that you actually would take a woman through in your program, just so that anyone watching would kind of get an idea,
Yeah, for sure. So I have a monthly membership program, and we start off with mindset because it all begins with your mind. So it's funny because you asked me about my why. I have my ladies ask me I tell them to identify their why for wanting to take control of their money. That's one of the first assignments they have to do. And then they identify their values, because remember, we talked about how your spending should align with what's important to you, but everything can't be important. So that's where you figure out what is most important to you based on your core values. We do that. We also have a lot of like fun money mantras that we create because we got to get excited about it. And the thing about having a strong why is that when things get hard, because they will get hard, that why will keep you going. And so that's why that's one of the very first things they have to do so that they can keep going. But from there, everybody wants to learn how to budget, even though you said it's the B word and everybody feels so restrictive. Oh my gosh. So I have a free Facebook group. It's called The Financially Fit Woman. And there's a couple questions that I ask them, and everybody wants to learn how to budget, but no one wants to do it. It's weird.
Because the word budget is like a nasty word.
I know, but they want to learn. They want to learn because they know that's really what it's going to take to really, fix their money. If you think about a corporation, like they run on a budget. Everyone runs on a budget. Our countries and states, we all have to have a budget. So do you. You need a budget.
Okay, good. And then, so what else do you take your ladies through in your membership program?
So we spend a couple of months almost on budgeting because it's so important, and I take them step by step. So the thing about the membership is it's a process. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So the goal is to take them from where they are financially to where they want to be, but in a way that's not overwhelming, because once people feel overwhelmed, what happens? They want to give up. So I take them step by step. So the budgeting portion, we do over several weeks. And then we learn about savings. We learn about debt reduction. We learn about overspending, because I get that a lot. Like a lot of us, we like to spend money. So,
Yeah.
and it's okay to spend money, but overspending that's where we get into trouble. We also will look at insurance and estate planning. There's so many things, but like I said, it's a process.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, everything is a process. So I want you to share a success story for one of your members.
Yes, absolutely. So I have one lady who, she was a stay-at-home mom with two little boys, and her husband, they decided to get a divorce. And so she literally was starting from the ground zero, and she just needed help getting herself together. And a lot of her issues was mindset. Like she didn't feel like she had enough education or she had enough skills and things like that. So with my help, I was able to help her identify like what is her passion. For her, she loves like beauty. So she decided that she was going to go and get her beauty license. And not only that, she's like a lash agent, or
Extension.
she puts the
Yeah.
eyelashes on. So this lady now went from having no money at home with her family to now having over $6,000 in the bank in her savings account. And this was after working with us. And she's working now. She not only does she have a job, but she also has a side business, like I said, doing the lashes. So it's just really a good success story of someone who wants help and willing to get the help and go through the process. So she's one of my favorite success stories.
Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And willing, like what you just said, being willing is so important.
Oh yes. Oh yes. You have to be ready. And I tell anyone who's looking to join my monthly membership that just joining the membership alone isn't going to do it. You got to come in, you got to do the work, watch videos, participate, because just joining the membership alone isn't going to fix your finances. It's going to be you actually diving in, asking questions, and internalizing all the information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as teaching women about money and all of
Mm-hmm.
that, what is the most exciting part for you in all that you're doing? Like, what lights you up when you're actually working with these women?
Yeah. So what lights me up the most is when I used to do one-on-one. I don't really do that much anymore. But what really lit me up there was when we would like they would say, "Oh, I run out of money. I don't have enough money. I don't make enough money." But when we sit down and actually look at the numbers, and I say, "Well, I see like an extra $1,000 here," and they're like, "What?" And they're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So yeah, I love it when it's just like a light bulb moment. And that's what budgeting does. It lets you really see where all your money is and how much money you actually do have.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I say is that you have to write it down. You have to write
Yeah,
down all the money coming in and all the money
yeah,
going out. Yeah, you have to
absolutely.
see it.
You
If
have to see
not,
it.
you
Otherwise,
look
it
like,
disappears.
where is it?
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you find is one of the main things I think that women don't really understand about money? I mean, like we want a budget, but then you don't want to do it. But like, what is that one thing that you found seems to be the number one thing that women are either like thinking or dealing with when it comes to money? Like, what is that? I guess that's how I want to say it.
Yeah, I think it's really that they don't have, but they don't make enough, that they're not good at it. Um, I think that's what it is. And it's all mindset related. Like they just don't have what it takes to really, get their money under control.
Yeah. And are they like open to like changing that right away, or is it like a process, the mindset part?
The mindset part is a process, and it's something that in my membership we start off with, but we'll readdress it or and get work with it throughout because it's something that creeps up all the time. That's why one of the things I have them do is create money mantras, and it's really around the thing that is keeping them stuck. So your money mantra may be different from mine.
Right.
So it really depends because everybody has their unique story that they're telling themselves. So we need to identify
Mhm.
what that is, and then create a money mantra around it to keep them going.
Yeah, we all have a money story. You
Yes.
know, they
Uh-huh.
that money story doesn't seem to want to leave us alone.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So, and it's crazy because that money story can keep us stuck if we don't address it and move past it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
do you find that it's kind of similar as far as like this whole money story, like whether somebody grew up poor or whether somebody, grew up middle class or had a little bit more money and more, privileges growing up, or, do you find that it's the same, or does it vary between, somebody who grew up poor or somebody who had a little bit more money?
I think it can just depend on the person because some people like grow up poor and that drives them to say, I'm not going to live like this as an adult. And that is what the one thing that makes them become whoever they become, like, the first generation millionaires sometimes. But then those people who grew up poor, some of them, they do stay there. Because it can be a cycle. So I think it depends. And then you have some people who are, they grow up wealthy and then they have a money story too that can be toxic where, they can be big spenders and not accumulating, and then they can actually end up being, poor or underperforming financially. So I think it just really depends on the person. Everybody's different in that regard, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I've seen that
Mm-hmm.
as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to hear from
Yeah.
you, the women that you've worked with. Yeah. And I asked that question because I've heard from women that they tend to think that, oh, just because you grew up in middle class or a wealthier family, that money's not a problem, and
Mm-hmm.
life is easier for you, and all of that kind of stuff. And if you grew up poor, well, of course you're going to have money problems. But like you just said, to your point, it all depends on the individual, right? How they decide they want to
Absolutely.
live their life. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
thank
no matter where you start in life, it's up to you to either, excel from that or um, not. You know what I mean? So sometimes, society, we all are dealt cards when we're born,
you. Hmm.
but we don't have to stay there. Yes, some people are born with silver spoons in their mouth, some people are born in
Hmm.
poverty, but there is a way for all of us to be successful. But, it could be harder for others and not so much for, the next person, but I do believe it's possible.
Yeah, so do I. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to decide for yourself what you want in life too.
Absolutely. Because it's no fun being the victim, So it's just, you
Mhm.
might as well just say, hey, listen, it's my life. I'm going to make the most out of it.
Yeah. And that's what I love, love, love about having an online business, or
Mm-hmm.
having the internet, where we can share stories of our lives and share success stories, and to show other women that, anything is possible. You just have to decide what you want. And, especially when it comes to the whole money part, because I always say that we have to have money nowadays. There's
Yes.
no way around it.
No way around it.
Yeah. And, so we have to be able to talk about it without getting upset, or
Mhm.
not, wanting to not talk about it because it just makes us crazy. Right. So,
Absolutely. So, and I will share with you, like I told you, my why for getting out of debt was my kids. But the reason I started my business is
mhm.
that exact reason. Because once I figured out how to do it, I'm like, oh my God, like I have to help others. I have to show other people how to do this because it's not hard, but it isn't simple either. Like it's like you have to have a mindset shift. You have to sacrifice some things. You have to prioritize things, but it's possible. You don't have to live stuck wherever you are financially.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's great that you are helping women, because, even more so nowadays, women, are starting businesses. And,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the percentage is, but majority of women in families make the most buying decisions when it comes to their family. And like they manage the money more than men, that I heard. And I wish I had the percentage statistics, but so that's fascinating because it's true.
It is.
Even if they don't like managing money, they still have to, right? Because they have a husband or children and all of that,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
they have to do the money part. So this
Yeah.
is good
Mhm.
because we got to talk about it without getting crazy. And
We
I'm glad that
do.
there's somebody like you out there helping women
Oh, well,
with
thank you. I agree with you 100% that women, we have a lot of power when it comes to the money. So
that. Hmm.
might as well, take control of it and get it right. And we can bring our husbands along too. I was able to get my husband on board. But again, I was the one who kind of just decided that enough was enough and that we were going to make a change. And he was very supportive.
Yeah, that helps. That's a big,
Mhm.
big part of it because not everybody's spouse is supportive in that way. So
Mhm.
so that's good. But
That is good. And we haven't gotten to that yet in my membership, but I do plan to have maybe a month where we deal with relationships and money because that can be an issue for a lot of people.
yeah, and I was just going to ask you about that because what would you say to a woman who her spouse or partner is not supportive in trying to set a budget or get their money under control or any of that? What would you say to her? I mean,
Yes, I
because
do.
that's a very touchy subject when you're dealing with a spouse or partner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would say dream with him. Dream with him because if you can ask him, okay, where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? And you all can like unite on that and say, okay, how are we going to get there together? And it's not you telling him what to do. It's not you telling him how it's going to be. It's dreaming together and then coming up with a plan of what you're going to do. So my husband is he's a spender. So that was something I had to contend with. And I couldn't say, hey, you can't spend money. I had to say, how much do you want to spend this week or every week? And we had to put that in a budget. So you can't be controlling with it. You have to be collaborative with your spouse. And I think that's the key when you try to control things and tell him what's gonna happen and what's gonna happen if he doesn't do it, then I think
Mhm.
that's where the tension is. But if you can dream with them, compromise, and collaborate, I think that's where you can find some success.
I love that.
Hmm.
I love that dreaming part,
Yeah.
taking that journey with your spouse.
Hmm. Hmm.
That sounds very powerful.
Yes, it is. And we had to do that. That's what I had to do with my husband. We were in a situation that was so stressful, but I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
let's just dream for a moment. Let's just dream what it could be like. And and that's the power of thinking and the power of visioning. And guess what? It comes to pass if you keep working at it.
Yeah, that sounds so fascinating.
Hmm.
Now, what about your other extended family, like parents or siblings or anything? Are they excited about what you're doing, or what are their reactions
Yeah.
to what you're doing?
They're excited. I have two sisters, and one is like more into it than the other, and the other one is just like, "Oh, that's fun," but I don't think she's very interested. And that's the thing. Like, I don't push it down anybody's throat because
Mhm.
you have to want it for yourself. Because I can't want it for you more than you want it for yourself. It's like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So
Mhm.
whenever she's ready, I'll be here.
Your smart, savvy sister will be here.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
love that. That's
Uh-huh.
great.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we all want to help our family, right? And sometimes
Mhm.
family, they're just not ready yet.
They're not ready, and that's okay.
Yeah, they're like, "You're my family. I don't want to listen to you."
Oh yeah, my parents don't. Yeah, it's not even happening with them. They're like, whatever.
I'm happy for you, honey, but you
Yes.
go.
Yes. Oh,
Oh,
so yeah,
that's good.
funny.
So do you get your sons involved in any of the budgeting, or do you teach them about money?
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
again, you know, children, and I know from experience, I have 4 adult children, but when they were young, they wanted nothing to do with what mama was saying.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like how are your children? And
Well, with my boys, they're totally different. So I can already tell one is a saver and one is a spender. So I can already tell that. And the one that's a saver, though, he gets stressed out about things, like about money. And I'm like, why are you stressing out about money? So I can already see, and I try to work with him on that piece because being a spender or being a saver, neither one is good or bad. That's
that's
just who
what
you
it
are.
is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I want him to understand that just because you're a saver doesn't mean that that's amazing. I don't want him to be a tightwad though, where he's not able to enjoy his
His
life. But
money.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're definitely involved. My youngest, I'm sorry, the one who likes to spend, we're getting him, kind of on a budget where he can, he does an allowance, so he gets to spend a certain percentage of his allowance, and then that way he's saving some, so helping him balance things out.
That's wonderful, especially
Mhm.
because, you know, when they grow up and then they have their own families, at least they
Mhm.
have a foundation that you've set and that you've taught them so that when they do have their own families, you know, they'll be in a better position to, you
Mhm.
know, have stress, well, hopefully stress-free money conversations, you know, and how they manage it and live their lives. So that's wonderful that they're open to
Oh
you
yeah.
helping them.
They are.
Oh my goodness. That is so great. Well, you know what? This is such a great conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before I ask you to share how women can get in touch with you? Is there anything that maybe I didn't ask or
Well, no, I think we covered a lot. I do want to just say that I firmly believe that it's possible to, take control of your money, but still enjoy life. So I'm not one of those who's going to preach frugality or tell you that you have to coupon. I'm from the school that you can do both. And so I want people to know, especially women, to know that that's possible because I think that's something that can hold women back from really trying to take control of their money because they feel, like you said earlier, like they're going to be restricted and,
Mhm.
told what they can't do. But I come from the belief that you can do both.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Oh
Yes.
my goodness, this is great. Okay, so I want you to share with us if anyone wants to get in touch with you or see what you have available, share with us how they can find you.
Absolutely. So I think the easiest way to find me is to just go on Facebook and look for my free Facebook group, which is called The Financially Fit Woman. The Financially Fit Woman. And we would love to have you in the group. And
Yeah.
just so you know, we're doing a savings spree in July. So if you want to get in, today is the last day of June. So starting tomorrow, we're doing a savings spree. So
Okay, well, I'll have all of that in the show notes, but
okay.
what is a saving spree? Just
Yeah, so it's just a cool, actually, I have the sheet right here since you asked.
okay.
Ooh, we're gonna save. Oh, let's see.
Yeah, I
We're
can
gonna
see it.
save $300 in 31 days.
Oh wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. I
It's
mean,
fun. It
I
is
think it's
fun,
fun.
and so many of the ladies are so excited. I just put a post saying, "Hey, if you want this chart, put your email in the comments." And oh my God, I've been emailing all day long today, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, you know, I'd like to save $300, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And for some, this will be like the beginning of their savings. So
Mhm.
I'm excited for them.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm excited to hear the results that these women are getting. So make sure you share that with me.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is such a great conversation. And I thank you so much for being here because I like to tell women like you have to take control of your money, you know, or it's going to
Mhm.
control you. And you're a good example of sharing that with us. And
Mhm.
there's so many women out there who are struggling. So I hope they do go and find you. And this is so great. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for having this virtual Hawaii visit and Michigan e-visit.
Yes.
Or virtual, not e, but virtual visit. But
Yes.
yeah,
You're
thank you
welcome. Thank
so
you for
much.
having me.
Absolutely. All right, Germaine, you take care and have a good day.
Bye bye. You too.
Thank you.